New Creation Shop, the heart behind it is to really create dignified work. It's a very beautiful thing what we're able to do, because you come in the store, it's full of beautiful things, people come to shop, but we're able to have conversations around fair trade, human trafficking, and engage with the community in a way that without the store we wouldn't be able to do. Human trafficking really is when somebody has a vulnerability and another person exploits that vulnerability. And so the vulnerability, the vast majority of what we saw, specifically in developing countries, was a lack of opportunity. And so if women didn't have jobs, traffickers would use that vulnerability to exploit them. And so part of what we hope, our hope is to create jobs for people rescued from human trafficking, so they are survivor made, or we're working with groups that are really vulnerable to human trafficking. So we want to cut the root out, right? It's fair trade and survivor made. Everything that we're consuming has a story, and it's what is the story? So we know the fact of clothing, for instance, only 2% of garment workers are paid fair wages. And so I just keep praying that more people step up into the fair trade world and start having conversations of what's the story? What's the story behind your stuff? Looking at what New Creation has done, it was never through one big grand thing. You know, it was like a bunch of little obedient yeses, a bunch of hard, choosing the hard road. It was these small things that really did the big thing. And so I think be encouraged, because I think so many times we get lost in, if we've got to do this big thing and we forget like these small steps of obedience, that's what shifts the world. And so when I first learned about human trafficking, you know, I learned statistics like the average age of a sex trafficking victim is 12 years old. That's a 7th grade middle school student. And I started looking at how here in our community, how are we combating that? Because I didn't know that. Pre-New Creation, I had no idea that that was a reality. I had no idea that human trafficking was in my community. And so, you know, I got very passionate about the prevention education piece because of my heart as a mom. I think there is a really common myth that trafficking is a somewhere else problem to a someone else people. What we know is human trafficking's been reported in every single state in our nation, and it happens in cities big and small. If we can see patterns that traffickers use, if we can have conversations with students about how this is happening, that's actually a great thing. And so we've had some pushback of people not necessarily wanting us to talk to students. Students are super open, and the conversations that I have in classrooms actually shock me at how open they are with me and at how engaging they are. And we have hard conversations. You know, we are talking about the over-sexualization of culture and how that plays a part. We are talking about the consumption and normalization of pornography.
Well, hello there, you sexy thing. You must know the password, right?
Of course.
Every day, a new girl turns 18. Free flight to Miami.
I found an ad on Craigslist. It was under TV shows and radio jobs. I sent them these 2 pictures because I didn't know what they wanted exactly. It didn't hit me until I got on the plane.
And how that very most likely is human trafficking. And even when it's not, it's a commercial for exploitation. So we're talking about really hard conversations, and students are engaging in those. But our heart was never for me to be the one doing education. Trafficking is a very complex, complicated issue. The solutions are not easy, and it can't be done in a 1-hour presentation, which is typically what they allow me to do. What we really hope and what we have moved towards is how do we fund the implementation of the curriculum that we use. It's called the Prevention Project, and the Prevention Project has a middle school and high school curriculum. It is so powerful. Not only is it educating, raising awareness, unveiling common laws, what it really, the hope is, how do we make sure that girls and boys aren't exploited, that girls and boys aren't the exploiter, and how do we turn them into catalysts for change? We all have a part to play. I always encourage people to be educated, find actual, real, good information around the issue of human trafficking, and understand how it's happening. Be a good consumer. You know, the reality is what our shop does, we're all buying things. We're all drinking coffee. We're probably all eating chocolate. We're buying gifts. We're wearing clothes. Every single one of those options, there's an ethical version. And so our money matters. We're consumers. That is not a bad thing. Consumerism pointed in the right direction is powerful. Being a good consumer makes us good global citizens. What's happening at New Creation has very little to do with me. It has more to do with the hundreds, even thousands of people who have decided to write checks to us. They've decided to pray for us. They have decided to come in here and spend their hard-earned cash. What we're doing only has happened because of a multitude of people doing their part. And so I look at, the impact. We're close to over $3 million raised to counteract human trafficking in one little tiny shop. It's protecting lives and students. It's changing the reality for moms in Moldova. It's breaking the cycle of exploitation for kids in West Bengal, India. And that all is happening because people are making these small little changes in how they're spending money, small changes with how they're interacting. And so it's so beautiful. And sometimes I'm like, how did I end up to get to be so close in the middle of it? Because it's the honor of my life.